I'm not even gonna lie. I did not expect to feel the way I felt when I saw what Amy actually did. Because my first reaction was, oh, that's sweet, and then I kept reading and I kept looking and something about it just sat with me differently. Like something underneath the sweetness didn't fully add up. And now I genuinely cannot stop thinking about it. So let's talk about it. Okay, baby number 4 has arrived. Tori and Zach Roloff, for anyone who needs the quick catch-up.
Lost an hour.
Just
What
welcome
am I
their
gonna
4th
do?
child.
Oh dear.
4th. Which,
Crazy.
listen, I
I
respect
gotta
it
get off my butt
completely.
and get
That's a
going.
full house and a full
Anyway,
life,
how
and
are
by
you
all
guys
accounts,
doing on
Tori
this
has
whole-
handled every single pregnancy and postpartum period with a level of openness and grace that a lot of people in her position don't always manage. The internet, predictably, went warm and fuzzy. The comments were full of congratulations. The Roloff fan community was doing what it does, celebrating, sharing, sending love. It was one of those genuinely feel-good moments that reality TV families occasionally produce where you go, okay, this part is actually nice. And then Amy showed up with the gift. And the conversation shifted. Now look, a gift after a new baby is completely normal. Expected, even. Grandma sends something, grandma comes to visit, grandma holds the baby. That's the script. That's how it goes in most families. But Amy Roloff is not most grandmas. And this gift is not most gifts. Because what she sent, or gave, or arranged, depending on which version of the story you're following, is the kind of thing that makes you stop scrolling. The kind of thing where you read it twice because you think you misread it. And then you read it a third time and you go, no, I read it right, that's genuinely what happened. And the reason it matters, the reason it's not just a wow, how generous moment and then everyone moves on, is because of the context. The years and years of context that sit underneath this one gesture like a foundation that nobody asked to see, but that's absolutely there if you look down. Let me give you the Roloff family situation as it currently stands, because if you've been loosely following and not obsessively following, there are some pieces you might have missed. Matt and Amy Roloff divorced. That's been the case for a while now. Matt is with Karen. Amy eventually married Chris Merrick, and honestly, she seems happy. Like genuinely, visibly, not performing for the cameras happy. Chris seems like a solid person. Their relationship reads as real in a way that Amy's marriage to Matt, toward the end, often didn't. So that's the personal landscape on Amy's side. On Zach and Tori's side, things have been more complicated than the baby announcements and family photos suggest. Because there was that whole situation. The farm situation. The one that fractured things between Zach and Matt in a way that has not fully healed and possibly never will. For those who need the recap, Zach wanted to take over Roloff Farms. Or at least, that was the conversation they were having. And it didn't go the way Zach hoped. Matt made decisions about the farm, about the future of the farm, about the price, about the terms that Zach and Tori felt were not made in good faith. Not made with actual intention to keep the land in the family in the way that had been discussed. And Zach has said on camera, in terms that were pretty unambiguous, that it damaged his relationship with his dad. And Tori? Tori was even more direct about it. Tori has never been the type to soften things that she doesn't think should be softened. So you have this family where one branch, Zach and Tori, has been in a painful, unresolved tension with Matt. Where the farm that was supposed to be legacy, supposed to be heritage, supposed to be the thing that got passed down, became instead this source of hurt. And Amy, who is Matt's ex-wife, who has her own complicated history with the farm, with the divorce, with how all of that went. Amy is now stepping in after baby number 4 with a gift that, depending on how you look at it, either has nothing to do with any of that or has everything to do with all of it. And that is what I can't stop turning over. Okay. The gift itself. What Amy did, and I want to be precise here because the details actually matter, is not just a cute little baby basket situation. This is not a monogrammed onesie and a gift card to buy by baby. What we're talking about is something that people who saw it described as genuinely extravagant. Luxury level. The kind of thing that costs real money, that requires real thought, that is not an impulse decision. The specifics of exactly what it was are still being talked about. I've seen a few different versions floating around, but across all of them, the common thread is This was significant. This was Amy making a statement with a price tag. And here's where it gets interesting. Because Amy has not always had this kind of relationship with Tori. I don't mean they were enemies. It was never that dramatic. But Amy and Tori have had their frictions. Their awkward moments. Their periods where the dynamic felt a little strained. Some of it is just normal in-law stuff that every family has. Some of it is more specific to the Roloff situation. And yet here is Amy, after baby number 4, showing up with something that reads almost as compensatory, like she's filling a space with generosity that something else left empty. Tell me I'm not the only one thinking this. Because the timing is very specific. Baby 4. Not baby 1, not baby 2, not baby 3, baby 4. And there's a version of this where you go, well, maybe Amy's in a better financial place now. Maybe her relationship with Tori has deepened over time. Maybe this is just growth. And that's probably partially true. But there's another version. A version where baby number 4 comes right in the middle of Zach and Tori's relationship with Matt being at one of its lowest points. Where Zach has been public about his hurt. Where Tori has been public about her frustration. And Amy, who has her own fraught history with Matt, swoops in with something lavish. Is that a coincidence? Or is that Amy Roloff doing something that looks like a gift but functions as something else entirely? I didn't even notice this at first, but someone in a comment thread pointed out that Amy posted about the gift in a very specific way. Not just welcome to the world little one with a cute photo. The way she framed it, the language she used, the deliberateness of making it visible, that was a choice. You can post a heartfelt congratulations privately. You can send a gift and not announce it. Amy chose to make this part of the public record. And I've been thinking about why. One possibility is that it's totally innocent. Amy is excited. Amy is a proud grandma. Amy wants to share that. Completely valid, completely normal. But another possibility is that Amy understood, consciously or not, that this gesture was going to be seen, was going to be compared, was going to land in a specific way given the current state of things between Zach and Matt. And she made the choice to be visible about it anyway. Maybe even because of that. Now here's the part nobody's talking about. Matt's response. Or more accurately, the texture of Matt's response. Because he did say something. He acknowledged the baby. He posted. He did the grandfather thing publicly. But if you put his post next to Amy's, if you look at them side by side in terms of warmth, in terms of specificity, in terms of what they're communicating about the relationship, they are not the same post. Not even close. Amy's feels like a grandmother who is in it. Who is present. Who is showing up. Matt's feels like a man who knows he's being watched and is trying to hit the right notes. And I don't want to be unfair to Matt because I don't know what's in his heart. But the optics of it, the way it reads to someone who's been paying attention to this family for years, the optics are rough. Because right now, Amy looks like the one who showed up. And Matt looks like the one who posted. There's a difference. The fan reaction to Amy's gift has been pretty overwhelming in her favor, which I think surprised even some of the people who follow this closely. Because Amy has not always been the fan favorite. She has her critics. She's had seasons where she came across as difficult, or as someone who wasn't handling the divorce with as much grace as she could have. People have had complicated feelings about her. But this landed differently. The comments on her post were not just warm. They were almost relieved. Like people who have been watching this family for years and have been worried about Zach and Tori's isolation from certain parts of it were relieved to see someone bridge it. Even if the bridge was a luxury item. Even if the bridge had some complicated motivations underneath it. Because at the end of the day, Tori just had a baby. And somebody showed up for her in a big way. And that matters. But I keep coming back to the question of whether it matters in the way it looks like it matters. Or whether it matters in a different, more layered way that nobody's really saying out loud yet. There's something Tori posted, a response, kind of, that has been screenshotted and shared a lot. And the way she worded it is interesting. She thanked people. She was gracious. She was warm. But there's a line in there. One specific line, That if you've been following this family and you know the history, you read it and you go, It's the kind of line that works two ways. It means exactly what it says on the surface. And underneath the surface, it means something else that she may or may not have intended to communicate publicly. I'm going to read it to you and break it down in part 2. Because I think once I walk you through the context, you're going to hear it the same way I hear it. And then we're also going to get into something that Chris Merrick, Amy's husband, apparently said in a separate context that connects back to all of this in a way I did not see coming. Chris is usually pretty quiet about Roloff family stuff. The fact that he said anything at all is already a little surprising. The fact that what he said connects to the gift situation? That's the part that made me sit up straight. Part 2 is coming. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so I've been reading your comments from part 1 and a few of you said something that I actually hadn't considered, and it reframed the whole thing for me a little. Someone wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, Amy's not trying to compete with Matt. Amy's trying to remind Zach that he still has family. And I just sat with that for a minute. Because that's either the most charitable reading possible, or it's actually exactly what's happening. And I genuinely don't know which one it is. Maybe both. But that's what makes this story so hard to look away from. Because nothing about it is simple. Nothing about it is just grandma bought a nice gift, end of story. There are layers. There are years underneath this. And the more you know about the Roloff family history, the more loaded every single gesture becomes. So, let's get into what I promised you. Tori's response post first. Because I've been sitting on this and I need to talk it through with someone. When Tori acknowledged the gift, when she posted about it publicly, she was gracious. She was warm. She used the right words. And on the surface it reads as exactly what you'd expect from someone who just had a baby and is operating on zero sleep and is trying to be appreciative of the people showing up for her. But there's a line. One specific line. And here it is. She said something to the effect of, it means everything when the people who matter show up for your kids, no matter what. No matter what. 2 words. At the end of a sentence that didn't need them. Because it means everything when the people who matter show up for your kids is a complete thought. It's a whole sentence. You don't need to add no matter what unless no matter what is doing something. Unless it's carrying weight. Unless it's pointing at something that exists just outside the frame of the post. No matter what could mean, no matter how busy life gets. No matter how far away you live. No matter how complicated the family dynamics are. Or, and this is the read that I keep coming back to, no matter what has happened. No matter what went wrong. No matter what was said, or decided, or taken away. That's a very different no matter what. And I don't think Tori typed those 2 words by accident. Now before you come at me in the comments, I know I might be reaching. I fully acknowledge that. No matter what is a phrase people use all the time without hidden meaning. It's possible Tori wrote it the same way anyone would write it at the end of a grateful, exhausted, postpartum caption. But here's the thing about Tori Roloff that you have to understand if you've been watching this family for any amount of time. She is not a careless writer. She's not someone who just fires off whatever comes to mind without thinking about how it lands. She's intentional. She's been doing this long enough, the public posting, the social media, the being a public person thing, that she knows exactly what a caption communicates. She reads the room. She has always read the room. So when she adds 2 words that aren't necessary, I pay attention to that. You probably should too, now. Chris Merrick, Amy's husband. The man who, by most accounts, has been a genuinely positive presence in Amy's life. Who seems to approach the whole Roloff extended family situation with a kind of steady, uncomplicated warmth that probably makes Amy's life a lot easier. He married into something complicated and he has largely handled it with grace. He is also typically pretty quiet about the internal Roloff stuff. He'll post a congratulations. He'll be in photos at events. But he doesn't usually wade into the subtext. He doesn't usually say anything that requires analysis. So when he made a comment, in a separate context, not directly about the gift, but directly adjacent to it, that connected back to this whole situation, I did a double take. What he said was, and I want to be careful here because I want to represent this accurately, he made a comment about what it looks like when a family prioritizes the kids no matter what the adult stuff looks like. About how he's watched Amy make that choice consistently. About how that's the thing he respects most about her. No matter what the adult stuff looks like. Now tell me that phrasing doesn't echo something. Because Tori says, no matter what, and then Chris Merrick separately says, no matter what the adult stuff looks like, and you have to wonder if that's a coincidence or if that phrase is doing something deliberate. If it's the family's way of naming what's happening without naming it directly. The adult stuff. We know what the adult stuff is. The farm. The fallout. Matt. The decisions that were made and the hurt that followed. That's the adult stuff. And the suggestion from both Tori and Chris independently is that Amy has chosen to not let the adult stuff prevent her from showing up for the kids. Which is, honestly, a pointed thing to say when you think about who else is in this picture. And what that person's relationship with the kids currently looks like. Let's talk about Matt for a second because I think he's been under-examined in this specific conversation and he shouldn't be. Matt posted about baby number 4. He was present on social media. He said the right grandfather things. And I don't want to villainize him completely because the reality of his relationship with Zach is complicated in ways that don't reduce cleanly to Matt as the bad guy. There are two sides to the farm situation. There are things Zach has said and done that Matt has found hurtful too. It is genuinely messy in the way that real family estrangements are always genuinely messy, not a clean story with a clear villain. But the optics right now are not in Matt's favor. And he has to know that. Because Amy's gift, whatever it is specifically, however much it cost, however it was delivered, has become a kind of visible benchmark. A thing that people are using, consciously or not, to measure presence. And next to that benchmark, Matt's social media post looks thin. Not absent. Not hostile. Just thin. And sometimes thin is its own statement. Here's something that I've been thinking about that I haven't seen anyone else really dig into. Amy giving this gift, making it public, making it significant, does something interesting to the power dynamic in the Zach and Tori versus Matt situation. Because right now, in the public narrative, Matt is the one who made the farm decision. Matt is the one who, in Zach's telling, didn't act in good faith. Matt is the one who a lot of the audience has sided against. And Amy, by showing up so visibly and so generously for baby number 4, is maybe not intentionally, but effectively positioning herself as the counterweight. The parent who gets it right. The grandmother who shows up. The Roloff who Zach and Tori can count on. And that positioning benefits Amy in a very specific way that has nothing to do with the baby. It rehabilitates her. Because Amy has not always been beloved in this fandom. She had seasons where she was perceived as difficult, where her handling of the divorce was criticized, where people questioned her choices. And now, right now, in this moment, she is the one who sent the luxury gift. She is the one with the warm relationship. She is the one whose name Tori is posting about with no matter what. That's a reputation rebuild happening in real time. And I don't know if it's calculated or organic, but either way, it's working. I want to bring in something that a few longtime Roloff watchers flagged online that I think is worth sitting with. There's a pattern that some people have noticed, and I've gone back and looked at this myself and I think they're onto something, where Amy tends to make her most visible, most generous gestures towards Zach and Tori specifically during periods of peak tension between Zach and Matt. Like the timing keeps lining up in a way that makes you wonder. Now here's where I'm going to ask you to check yourself with me for a second. Because there are two interpretations of that pattern. One, Amy, as the mother of both of them, is more emotionally available to step into the gaps that open up when Zach and Matt are struggling. She fills the space because the space is there and she cares. That's completely human and completely sympathetic. Two, Amy, consciously or not, moves toward Zach and Tori most visibly when it costs her the least and benefits her the most. When Matt already looks bad, she looks good by contrast without even having to try very hard. The gesture doesn't have to be that big to land big because it's landing against a backdrop of Matt's relative absence. Which interpretation is right? Honestly, probably both in different proportions at different times. People are complicated. Motivations are rarely singular. You can genuinely love someone and be aware of how showing up for them benefits your own narrative. Those things can coexist. But the question worth asking is, does Tori know that? Does she see it? Does she think about it? And if she does it change how the gift feels? Something about that felt off to me when I first started pulling on this thread. And it took me a while to figure out what it was. I think what it is this. The gift, as a gift, is undeniably kind. Whatever Amy gave, expensive, thoughtful, significant, that's a real thing. A real gesture. A baby just arrived in the world and a grandmother showed up for it in a big way. That's not nothing. That's actually something. But the gift as a story, as the thing being narrated, posted, talked about, screenshotted, and analyzed, is doing additional work that the gift as a gift doesn't fully account for. And when a gesture gets narrated as loudly as this one has been, you have to ask who's doing the narrating and why and what story they need it to tell. Amy narrated it. Publicly. In a specific way. Tori received the narration and added her own layer to it. Chris added his layer. And now all of us are here adding our layer, which I fully acknowledge is part of the thing I'm describing. There's one more piece I need to get to, and I'm going to do it in part 3 because it requires some setup. There's a detail about the gift, about the specific nature of what it is and where it apparently came from and how it was sourced, that I didn't have when I made part 1. Someone sent me some information that, if accurate, adds a dimension to this story that completely changes the generous grandmother read. Not in a sinister way. Not like Amy did something wrong. But in a way that makes the symbolism of the gift so specific, so pointed, so clearly about something beyond just welcoming a new baby, that it genuinely took my breath away a little when I put it together. Because if what I've heard is right, and I want to stress the if because I'm still trying to confirm some of this, then this gift wasn't just expensive. It wasn't just thoughtful. It was a message. Wrapped up in luxury. Delivered to Zach and Tori's door at the exact moment when that message would land hardest. And the person that message was most pointed at wasn't Tori. We're going to get into all of that. We're also going to talk about how Jeremy and Audrey, the other side of the Roloff kid equation, have been conspicuously quiet about baby number 4 in a way that, given their usual posting habits, is starting to raise some eyebrows. Because silence, as we've established, is its own kind of statement. Part 3 is coming. I'll see you there.